Let's take a look. Here you'll see what one past student has done. Nothing fancy, but notice how there are short paragraphs and a numbered list in order to accomplish the goals of the new literacy chunking. Here's another one, and Mr. Williams chose to use here a table, a highly defined, outlined, bordered, divided up chunk piece of writing, and he did an excellent job of choosing a format that indeed meets the new literacy, which is avoiding long paragraphs, avoiding having nothing but paragraphs. You definitely want to avoid that. And instead dividing your content up into small, discernible chunks, whether they are lists, tables, graphs, charts, or very short paragraphs. Okay, let's move on to the next thread here. The next thread is entitled Academic versus Business Writing. And another key goal of this course is for you to get in your head the very clear differences between academic and business writing. Unless you have been trained specifically in them, for most of you, your primary writing experiences have been writing experiences in school. And that's academic writing. And that's the kind of writing that you have studied the most. Well, now it's time to study business writing. Although you've been doing that kind of writing in the workplace, it's now time to study it so that you can do it better. And that's the goal of this conference. So let's take a look. Again, you have some steps to fulfill. After doing your reading, your gathering of information, your understanding has been developed. You're then going to identify the differences between business and academic writing, and then you're going to use those key differences to assess your current writing skills. And be sure to comment on this last question right here. What are the areas that you're going to have to focus on the most in order to fully accomplish, master this jump between academic writing and professional business and technical writing? What's it going to take for you to make that transition fully and successfully? Once again, I've given you some links to follow. Here's the first of those, academic versus business writing, a list of 5 characteristics. The second one is writing in school versus writing in work, fundamentals of business communication. And here you see some more differences outlined in a bullet list for you. And then the last one is a PowerPoint on the actual differences, and I'm not going to open that up because of time that it takes for doing that. Now let's take a look at our last thread. And by the way, you can submit your work in that assignment in a template similar to the one that you were shown for audience analysis. List the characteristics, define the characteristics, apply the characteristics. Now the last thing I want to go over with you are these models for your paper number 1. And your paper number 1 is due at the end of next week. So now's a great time to get started working on it, giving yourself 2 weeks. Here are the model papers that I am providing you for the communication analysis that is due at the end of next week. These communication analyses are divided into 4 primary parts. Part 1 is the background. Here you give me the background of the communication place where you are collecting your communication inhibitors. The goal of this assignment is for you to collect communication inhibitors and then to analyze those communication inhibitors by defining them and then applying that definition to show you have correctly understood the inhibitor. But before you do that, I want to get a general background of where these communications are coming from, the people who are speaking them, your role in this workplace or this home where these communication inhibitors are coming from. Then comes part 2, which is a definition list of the communication inhibitors. So be sure to list each communication inhibitor that you have observed and to give the general textbook definition of it, but be sure to do that in your own words. Then you're to have a table portion, and in this table portion, you're going to, in the first column on the left, give a paraphrase or the actual quote of the communication that you think contains an inhibitor. In the middle, you list the inhibitor or inhibitors, it could be plural, that you think are contained within that communication. And then in the last column on the right, you justify, you explain why you chose those inhibitors, why you think those inhibitors are a part of that communication. Here in the second one, you can see how multiple inhibitors applied, as well as the third one. And then in your last part is to rate the communication effectiveness in your workplace. Let's look at another model so that you'll see this template at work again. Again, part 1 is background information on the workplace, the people in the workplace, the communication task that you are a part of in that workplace. Part 2 is the definition list, giving general definitions of each communication inhibitor. Part 3 is the 3-column table. On the left is the actual communication. In the middle is the communication inhibitor or inhibitors that you think are contained within that communication. And then the last column is your explanation or analysis justifying why you think that communication represents those inhibitors. And then part 4 is your evaluation of the communication taking place, effectiveness taking place in the workplace that you're analyzing. So there you go. There are the 2 threads for week 2 that you need to participate in, and there are some templates for paper number 1 that's due at the end of next week. If you want to jump ahead to week 3, you will find a document design workshop that will also help you format your template for this paper number 1. Templates, very important. I'm going to be expecting you to look at the templates that I have provided you and to replicate those templates exactly in the assignment that you turn in for project number 1 at the end of next week. Okay, there you go. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me an email, or ask it in Cafe 24. By the time that you see this video, I should have your week 1 conference post graded. And if you have any questions or comments about that grading and feedback, be sure to ask those questions as well. Okay, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you online.